Hi, this is John Hilbrands, and today I'm going to talk about the living with a single basin sink and why we selected it, particularly how you wash dishes in it. But also, I wanted to talk about its nice advantages that we have and some of its disadvantages. I also want to talk about having a Wilsonart countertop. I actually installed this countertop myself. We have a little bit more to do. I started the backsplash, but I haven't gotten it around the window yet. And also I want to talk about getting one of those expensive Bosch dishwashers. So let's get started. And I think what we're going to do is we're just going to wash dishes. So basically, when we're washing dishes, I think one of the big things that people want to know before they select them is how on earth they're going to do it. And I think the nice thing about it is you use one of these dish trays. So this was just something at the dollar store, and they're about $4 at the dollar store. So they're not quite $1 anymore, but not very much money. And the thing that I always had with my double basin sink is I would always have a soak side and then rinse off the food side. And if you're like me and are one of these people that piles dishes rather than rinses them off and puts them in the sink, you'll probably be used to this little setup. Now, the single basin sink comes with this tray that we absolutely love, and I just piled my silverware in there. And the nice thing is dishes stack pretty nicely. That's probably somewhere around 25 dishes there. So if they had silverware, obviously they would cascade onto the floor. And hopefully we'll see how well this fits into our dishwasher, and you'll see a little bit of advantage of our dishwasher here. So this here dishwasher is called the SHPM65Z55N/20. It's a third level rack, which promptly I removed because I couldn't get my taller cups in there. It also has a two-part silverware tray that goes here, and the second one goes right next to it. And I find that to be I don't need two, and I usually need to fill it a little further, so I only use one. You also see that I've put its extra racks down. So basically I'm using it in its minimal design. And I think that's just because this particular dishwasher has some issues with putting bowls in, and I have a tendency to use a lot of bowls when we eat. So let's wash some dishes, and you can see just basically how it goes when you're not using a double basin. So I think that's probably what some people are worried about, and I certainly was when I decided to get I had to be talked into getting a single basin by my wife, because I am someone who does a lot of the dishes in our house, half at least. So it isn't like it's not part of my decision as well, although a kitchen is very much the wife's domain, and so she wanted the single basin. And one of the reviews I read on this Ruvati one was that the lady said it's the star of our kitchen. Everyone comes to our house and is just in love with our sink. It has some things that come with it, and I'll mention those now. Probably would be better after I'm done cleaning, but in addition to the silverware tray, it has this nice cutting board that fits in there. And that cutting board, if you can imagine right around now, Thanksgiving, how nice it would be to be able to sit the turkey somewhere, cut the plastic, and let the juices flow off. I seem to remember sterilizing the inside of a sink so I can do it without trying to hold it in the air. And then we can do it on a cutting board, so much better. It has some other things as well. This rack that's at the bottom So it has a problem with drainage, and you can see that there's some food that gets under there, but most things are above the food, so you can kind of keep the food there until it's time to clean the sink. So you're not always cleaning the sink, actually. All right, so let's wash dishes, and I can show you just how easy it is with a small tray, a small amount of dishes. Now, when I do my dishes, I don't rinse them or anything like that. We're just trying to get the food off, get them partially clean. Some of the newer dishwashers, and this one has a multi-filter, and I think it was close to $1,000, so it wasn't cheap. Some of the newer dishwashers have garbage disposals in them, and they'll talk about how you don't have to wash dishes. This one, or pre-wash dishes, but this one here said more like it'll hold the food away from the rinse. Well, the problem with that is that it also will clog the filters. It gets all over the place, and I can get things a little more crowded if I do the pre-wash, because when you get things crowded, certainly the upper tray, it doesn't seem to circulate as well. I mean, there's no, just like in a car wash, you need to just the pressure of water doesn't work as well as when you rub something with a sponge. So, and for the most part, doing it this way is pretty quick. Now, obviously, there might be some things that take a lot of soak time, and I remember having the double tray and cleaning the kitchen at the same time of the old sink. So I would put everything in, give a good soak, and then I could basically just rub my sponge and be done. But here, like that one dish I just did, I had to set it aside. I'll come back to it in a second. And I think that's one of the things, if you get something with cheese on it, it has a tendency to take a little bit more soaking. When you're washing dishes, you kind of wish everybody washed the same as you, but everybody has their own system. And I think running it under continuous water is one system, and I see that with some people doing it, and it irritates me because I think, gosh, that takes so much more time, and it's just not as fast as soaking first, and you have to constantly hold it in the air, whereas here it's being able to rest, and it's not quite as difficult. But you don't look a gift horse in the mouth. So you never say anything. If someone's doing it their way, let them do it their way. There was a funny radio personality. She said that the worst date she ever had on her life was when she went to a young man's house, and when she went to was helping him wash dishes after he made her dinner, and he said, you stacked the dishwasher wrong, this is how you need to do it, and then went on with a 5-minute dissertation of why you stack dishes in this manner. It was so important to him. And it's like, really, dude? Way to impress the girl, right? You made dinner for her, now you're telling her how to stack a dishwasher, belittling her. I imagine that she probably was pretty bad at it, is all I can think of, to give him a little credit. But yeah, you wouldn't do that if you want to get in good with the young lady. But you know, there are people that just are really inept, and they do things weird, and you have to accept them for their what their qualities are, not condemn them and try and, you know, I think you can tell a million people how to do something and only a handful will listen. So really, it's probably not worth your time. I'm a carpet cleaner by trade, and I think every single customer I tell, you know, not to use so much soap in their carpet because soap is your biggest problem. It sticks to dirt, and so as soon as you wash it, you know, a month later, you know, you weren't able to rinse all their soap out because it was so plentiful. It's going to get dirty again. And it's not that you haven't tried or haven't done the best that you can do. Now, there are some things a carpet cleaner can do, like multiple rinsings and using a lower pH chemical so it has some neutralizing power. But you can't get the, you know, soap in general will take multiple cleanings before it goes away. So I had a little hot chocolate, and there's an example of something that's just needs some more soap time. Then you can give it in this method. So when I see something like that, I'm just setting it aside, and I'll come back to them. I think I went on a little hot cocoa binge here. Got about 6 glasses of it. When my wife married me, she knew I was a chocoholic, and I remember being at Grandma's house, and she was dating a elderly man, and he would buy candy by the big container and just be eating it all day. And he was in his 80s, so it wasn't like it was it looked like it was perfectly fine. It had nothing to do with health, in my young man's opinion. And I said, that's what I'm going to do when I get old. I'm going to buy candy like that. And yeah, I know better now, but still, having a little hot cocoa is definitely a weakness of mine. Some people it's alcohol, and some people it's, you know, a lot of other unhealthy foods. Me, it's chocolate. But I guess that's one thing, it doesn't affect other people, and it just affects me. That's the one thing about political is, you know, if it's only affecting the person, can you really come down on them? I mean, all this attack on people, personal life that people have, it's just so sad. It's like, let people live and enjoy their life. You don't need to be their policeman. You wonder what the grounds are for people trying to rationalize, you know, what other people can do with their lives. But anyway, out of politics, huh? There's a lot of politics always in this world we're talking about, especially at this time of year. So, still loading this thing, and I'm already full on the top. So there's always the choice of, do we continue to fill, or do we basically set it aside and have an overflow till the next wash? And it's one of those interesting things. Sometimes I hand wash to catch up so that I can clean the sink before an event, because the washing of before a party, you know, you want to be done. You don't want to go through a 2 to 3 hour cycle. There is a quick wash on my Bosch, which is an hour, but I tend to not use it because I'm really not doing even an hour from now. if I'm getting ready for a party, I'd rather be done than reloaded in an hour. And I'm almost always prepping more than 3 hours ahead of a party, usually the day before. So there's really no advantage to me to do a quick wash. And the nice thing about the longer wash is that it does so much better job. So I just tend to do things at the longer span. And I really like having the drying function of this. People will, our old dishwasher always had a very wet dish when we were done. And this one has an auto dry function, which somehow dries it. There's another more expensive dishwasher that supposedly has some beads in the bottom that absorb heat, like ceramic beads, and those beads will cause it to dry better. This one has pretty much the same thing, except they say it's because of the fact that the size of the stainless steel absorb heat, and that heat continues to radiate. We bought these little glass bowls a long time ago from, I think they're like Anchor. They're not really expensive, little custard bowls. And we really like them. My wife, always wants ramekins. The custard bowls are a little more shallow, and they're easier for dipping because they're wider. But we've used ramekins in the past, those nice little ceramic ones, and I think they all broke. So I got the custard dishes because she really wasn't using them to prepare souffles. She was using them more for sauces. And you put a teriyaki sauce if you're doing your Asian meal, or if you just want some ketchup, or you want to mix your ketchup with a little bit of hot sauce for some fries or something, or even just something else, even if you're just going to dip. So we have we have a lot of things after 30 years. My wife loves sharp knives. When I bought these knife set, one of the things I required is that if people didn't say it rusted, because I have a tendency to put them in the dishwasher. So obviously mine have more stainless steel. They like more carbon steel in knives, just because they'll be sharper. But carbon steel rusts, and I think there's a fine line between usability and longevity. And I prefer longevity. So if you're going to choose one, obviously it's nice to have both. Certainly when we're doing turkey, we want really sharp knives, but I think everybody nowadays uses an electric knife for their turkey. But some people might still use, hand knives. And I guess if you're into that, you want to do the traditional pose of you standing there, the Corian knives or whatever they are, Great American art of someone carving a turkey. It's not Corian knives, it's that other artist that was doing I can't think of his name, but has some of the famous paintings for magazine fronts. So, like I was saying about using one of these cheap bowls, cheap dish pans to wash. What was interesting is when I decided I wanted to get one, I was actually using a mixing bowl. for a while. And I realized that there was something already made to do this. And I go, you know, who has them? And I could have ordered them online, but I thought, you know, I think I've seen them in the 99-cent store. And lo and behold, there they were. Cheap price. I think when I went on Amazon, they were $10. So even if I had bought them on Amazon, but I was nearby the 99-cent store when I had the idea, so it was pretty easy to do. I guess I wanted to see if there was someplace cheaper, and so it was in the back of my mind. All right, so that's basically it. If time lapse, I probably can look at the video and see how long that was, but I'm going to say it was about 15 minutes. So you can see basically what didn't fit. I guess I'm going to take some time and do these few items in the bottom, because I still have a little bit of room. And this is what I mean about how they stack. You can see here, there really is no way to put a bowl unless you put it really high on the tines. And it has an interesting stack method of going that way. And that works pretty well, because you can see, let's do a count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So about 17 plates. And so it works really well, but they also designed plates to go this way. So I mean, it's basically only plates in the bottom. They have no plan for anything else. So bowls will not fit. And on this, you know, the third rack kind of hit my tall glasses that when they were on the side, it kind of, actually I think it was in the middle. It kind of had a curve down. So you would have to really stack, but we have majority of talls, so it would hit. So we took out the third rack. And the third rack would basically be used for these things. And you can just set them on top. It's not like they're going to bleed dirt onto the bottoms, or they're not going to get washed. So they're just as good there as they would have been on a third rack. It's really not worth having a third rack here. As far as the silverware, using just a single bin, it works just fine, especially when they're pre-washed. I guess if you weren't going to pre-wash, you would have them more spread. And all it would really require is me to put that bowl somewhere else, and I could have used both of them. But I don't find a need for that. All right, so there is our dishwasher. Now, on the cycle, we have the on-off button. I tend to leave auto, and over here is an auto air, and you can see that now it says 3 hours 14 minutes. So that's a long wash cycle with the auto air. Without it, it's 2 hours 25. So with it, they get nice and dry. The next thing is you have to press the start button, and when you press the start button, and then it turns on a light. And when it's solid, it runs. So I must have hit it twice by some accident. There we go, now it's solid. So when it's solid, it'll start to run. And let's see if we can hear this. So it starts with a little bit of a drain, and then you just cannot hear it. It is so quiet. I think that's its biggest feature, and it's running for 3 hours, but we do not hear it. And I guess I forgot to do those other dishes, but whatever. Now let's talk about this sink here. And one of the interesting things about this sink is it came with one of these great strainer baskets. And people were talking about they cannot use their garbage disposal anymore, and they certainly can't use it with the strainer basket. If you look there, you see that I have no rubber here, but I do have a garbage disposal. So obviously I keep this filter basket in, else might kick out a bone or something and hit me in the head. But when you run it with this, but you notice when I took this out and it was full, we had a bit of a drain. Had I, because water failed to penetrate. But the problem is, if you only have the drainer basket, you're going to have this issue of when you take it out, food rushing down into the drain, and then you're going to clog things up. So I just took the rubber out, and on my particular dishwasher, there's a ring right here, and it holds it perfectly. Dishwasher, I'm in a garbage disposal, but that will not poke through. And that ridge is there to hold the rubber. So basically the rubber kind of bumps into that. So I don't know that'll be on everybody's, but it was on mine, so I just took the rubber out and that works. And I still have my garbage disposal. Another reason people may not say that their garbage disposal fits is because they said it was too deep. But if you look at this, my sink has somewhere around 6 inches under the garbage disposal. So plenty of room, and the drain comes off the side, so, you know, off to the drain. So I have no idea why their garbage disposal doesn't fit. Mine is called a Waste King, and you know, has a stainless steel inside, so it'll run for a long time. But when I put my new sink in, I bought a new top part because, you know, it was getting old and gooey and all that. So I think I just ordered a new part on Amazon for an extra $10. So I was able to do that. Let's talk about life with this countertops. They're basically Corian, although these particular ones are Wilsonart. Oh, that's a hard plastic one. But when you have them, you'll invariably have stains. I think the hardness of this is about a 2, and marble is about a 3, and quartz is about a 7 on the Mohs scale. So it really did bother me that I would have this. Now, we had basically Formica before, and from scrubbing we actually wore through the plastic, and it basically had a pattern except for the areas that got a lot of scrubbing. Well, this is nice and thick, so it's about a 1/2 inch thick, and when I made this edge, it's laminated with 3 pieces that are then bolted, or, you know, clamped and then sanded, so it looks like it's really thick, but it's a 1/2 inch. But 1/2 inch is much thicker than the 1/16 inch of what Formica is. And when it talks about in the Wilsonart book in how to do things, it'll say care and use, and the care and use, it'll talk about when you do install it. It said most people are dissatisfied with their counters when they have not been surface prepped properly prior to buying, you know, prior to the installer leaving, because it was a lot about the installer. And perhaps one of the big things is they chose a non-white surface, because it'll say on the white surface, it'll say sand to this level, and care and use, nothing to really point out. And then it'll go on to the dark patterns and say care and use, you know, it's hard to maintain, it's hard to do things. And basically that hard to maintain means it's too soft for such a shiny surface. It's going to look bad. So always choose white if you're choosing a Wilsonart countertop, if you want to live with your kitchen. So let's see, we can see this big old coffee ring. If it was quartz, would it be there? Maybe not. It might not have penetrated, but all things stain, all things darken, so it may just be on the surface regardless. Just a little bit of cleanser powder. And if this was a colored surface, and I did that with the green side of my sponge, and then it would now be dull. So it would not look good anymore. So had I gone the way of trying to get fancy and gotten a colored surface that looked more unique, I probably would be upset. And but as a white surface, it's amazing. And if you look anywhere else, you don't see any, because I did that last week as well. So Corian use, yeah, once in a while I'll have to scrub something out. I might have to do it anyway if it was quartz. I don't know, because like I said, all things will stain. But if something's really hard, it tends not to stain as much. So yeah, quartz would probably be easier to maintain. But then again, I installed this myself. So when I went to do it, and it was probably one of the hardest projects I've ever done, when I went to do it, because it was stressful, I actually was able to get these at $3.50 a sheet. And if you go to my other channel, you'll find out how I did that. But so the installation was fairly inexpensive. The glue that's this color that laminates it was $55 a tube, and it took 2 tubes. So I bought 2 sheets and 2 tubes, and then, you know, special blades and stuff like that. But the money I saved, I got this Bosch dishwasher, I got an upgraded sink that's going to make people envious, according to the review, and I got a pretty nice stove, although it looks a little dirty right now. I really like this stove, by the way. The Samsungs, you know, things glow and everything else. But in fact, I'm so in love with this, I've been making pizza on it, and it does a really good job. Maybe I'll show you how to make pizza on there one day. So I hope you've liked this video. It kind of shows you why doing this countertop, this type of sink, how you do dishes with it, you know, and some of the other things I chose here. And by the way, I did have some people over, and sure enough, the star of the kitchen was the sink, and sure enough, they were in love with it. My niece, who came over and cooked on that particular event, she was like, "This is the sink I'm going to buy," because she was preparing on that cutting board. So yeah, everyone's going to love it. You're going to not be happy about how it drains, but you just kind of, you know, spray the water and push it down into the drain whenever you get the urge. And other than that, it works out really well. So I hope you like this video. Give it a thumbs up on the use of the products that I chose in my kitchen. And hopefully you'll feel that the benefit of this single basin sink is worth it. And the benefit of having a cheaper countertop is worth it, you know, for the savings you'll get to buy your new appliances. This has been John Hilbrands. Hope you like my video.